Okay, I welcome
This one's
everyone
easy,
to Finance Committee budget hearings here for February the 19th. I'm not going to take a roll call at this time. Some FinCom members will be coming in and out throughout the day. We're going to start with the Water Pollution Control Facility, and Mr. Guy Campino.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the Finance Committee. As an overview, we all are probably aware that the Water Pollution Control Facility in the town of Wareham serves probably around 52% of the town of Wareham, mostly coastal. We have 45 pump stations. We have 61 miles of gravity lines. We have 3,000 manholes throughout the town. And the age goes from 1970 to 2011, our most recent, upgrade.
Would you just, how many lines, gravity lines did you say you had?
61 miles. 61 miles. Of gravity, and we really, when we talk about lines, we don't talk about force mains. And 45 pump stations. So we've been talking quite a bit about what's required of the wastewater facility as far as maintenance of our infrastructure. As in previous meetings, we talked about infrastructure not being something that was required of the wastewater facilities. The EPA has been focusing on treatment, the treatment plant, the modern processes, nutrient removal, and all those things. And now they're telling us to focus on that 61 miles of pipe, the 45 pump stations, or what we generally call the collection system. And so why I pointed that out, in our budget you will see that our increases have been into staffing. Gosh, I apologize, I put this off, it's driving me nuts. Thank you. And in that report I gave to the chairman, we have a staffing, how we come to staffing, how we staff the facility. The facility itself has so many points by what we do at the facility. And the EPA has set up a guideline, and we take the guideline, apply it to our particular treatment facility, our collection system, and what we're required to do, the lab work we do, and it all is assigned a number. When it's all done by hours. When it's all said and done, we take those hours, and then we do a division, and we say, okay, this is the staff I need to run the facility. And then we take the ancillary things like support staff, whether it be in the administration building and whatnot, and that number is applied, and then you come up with the amount of staffing you need for the facility. And so I gave you that just to give you an idea. It's not haphazard. It's not just, well, I think we need 5 guys, or we need 4 guys, or whatever. There's a formula for that, so that's why I gave it to.
Is this 24/7?
Our facility is 8 hours a day. The facility runs 24/7, and the 14 or the 16 that we're not staffing is controlled by SCADA. There's a computer system that runs the facility. Yes, we have CPP, for lack of words, little CPUs. 5 systems located throughout the treatment facility, and they monitor the equipment constantly, and they tell the equipment what to do. It's all programmed, so you maintain your backwashing. If you're backwashing your sand filters, you just maintain the process. Pumps come on and off. You're recirculating, pumps recirculate, so the computer tells the pumps what to do throughout the evening, and so the SCADA system does that.
I'm just curious as to these folks are they're Monday through Friday or
Monday
whatever.
through Friday, 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
7 days a week. The facility runs 7 days a week.
I figured it was
Weekends are our busiest times. You can imagine everybody's home. What we lose in businesses, we gain in residents, and then, of course, you do have the businesses, the malls and whatnot on the weekends, and the restaurants go crazy on the weekends also. So our flow increases on the weekends. So we are staffed now 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. Holidays, we're staffed also. We don't shut down on holidays. We bring staff in to maintain the facility. So staffing becomes a big issue. So I wanted to point that out because you'll see that in the budget. And I think that's pretty much an overview of how I get our numbers. But I do want to, and you all have heard the acronym CMOM, and it's in the manual, talk about it, and that simply says that we're going to start focusing on our infrastructure. You'll see in our capital part of the budget, yes, we are. We've got pump stations that need roofs, walls, pumps. I mean, it's going on and on and on. So that's going to reflect in our capital side of our budget. It's something that we haven't been doing in years, and now we're starting to pick up the ball and roll with it. So you'll see that'll reflect in there also. So that's a general overview of what we are, who we are, and what our goals are. But I think as we go through it, specific questions will bring out specific things that would be on your mind. And I'd be more than happy to do my very best to answer and to elaborate as the case may be.
Go ahead, Donna.
Mr. Campina, thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
And I know that you attempt to do a fantastic job. But I do want the members of this board to be very clear and know that some of the DPU regulations that are in place, the staff he has isn't doing it. They're not doing it. We're looking for extra staff now, and the staff, they're not inspecting those pump houses every single day. I feel that we would be remiss to approve anything at this point until you have 5 new sewer commissioners that get in there and do their job the best that they possibly can and have to deal with this. To bring in new staff here at the Water Pollution Control Facility on a formula looks good on paper. However, if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing now, why are we gonna add more staff? Until we know where we are, and I know you'll have to agree with me. I know you will.
To answer staff question, I'd be very blunt. It's a bigger picture than staff numbers. It's an attitude, it's ethics, it's called
Exactly.
production. It's called production. And I think it's a systemic problem throughout government, and we could elaborate on that. And I agree, and we've spent a lot of money and time on training. And training is only as good as the person receiving the training and then what they do with that training. And so I think it becomes a systemic government problem. I think we all see that. And the difficulty is to implement that. So, but it's specific to staff and the staff that we need to run the facility mandated by the EPA. I think that's something that we have to do. I think, to your point of the sewer commissioners, and I think politics aside, I thought that the great idea is because of the focus of the treatment facility, but to sit with sewer commissioners and develop policies and procedures that'll address these issues, to your point, is critical. And I think that's something that will happen. I don't doubt that for 1 minute. I haven't seen candidates, and I really am not concerned about that. But I think if we present that, and I think if we have 4 individuals that collectively take this as a project, if you will, with the desire to make this facility better, I don't see that becoming an issue in the long term. And so to your point, I think that's important, and I think we'll do that as we move forward.
Do you think the formula stays up with technology? Because you just talked about how you automated, you can follow things and so forth, and sometimes these formulas don't stay up with the technology that allows you to basically run the facility with fewer people. The ATM analogy with banks. You don't need as many tellers because the machine was doing the job.
The manual takes into consideration technology. It has a line for SCADA, if you have a SCADA system, which is it's an acquisition of data, and then you take that data and it puts it in a form. But anyways, yes, it speaks to that. It speaks to technology that's available. But technology is leaps and bounds. I got to tell you. So every time we update a manual, it's in reaction to technology. It isn't proactive, it's always reactive. So there's always that lag in staffing to technology. But again, the biggest issue, and we can beat the dead horse, is production. And I think production is a word that's been lost in America. It's more about job creation. We talk about job creation and people working. It's very important, but I hate to lose sight of that word production. It's productive. And I give the analogy, and I tell this to everybody, you hire me to build your deck, and you're going to make sure that I build that deck. You're not going to allow me to give you 1,000 excuses why that deck is not built. But yet I want to be paid up front for that deck. So, and I think we all can relate to it. When it's money coming out of our pockets, And trust me, this money we're spending is coming out of somebody's pockets.
Oh, we know.
And we're responsible for those pockets of those individuals that are giving us their hard-earned money. And so we need to stress, and I had said that in relation, in specific to Ms. Bronk's comment, was that production is critical and key, because that speaks to the value of that hard-earned buck that you give me and you give to our staff. So that is something that, through the sewer commissioners, that we will definitely address and work on.
Madam Chairman, I'm not gonna make a political issue out
Go
of this at
ahead.
all. I'm not here to make a political issue,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm not here to skirt the issue of the questions. We know what you need. We know, this town has been very generous to our water pollution control. Whatever
Some of
you've,
the
whatever, for the most of the time, whatever you've come in and asked, we've supported you. And I personally will continue to support you, but I don't support the way things are being going right now. I mean, we spent thousands of dollars on a system last year that was just blowing in the wind. Nobody taking care of it. And I had to see pictures from somebody that just goes into the water plant, pollution plant. We mentioned it to the higher ups, and it gets stuffed in a hole. I don't think our money is being spent to the best that it can be. That's all I'm gonna say.
and that's fine. And I think if
I'm
you-
not gonna say any more,
Yeah, no,
and
it's
I'm not
fine.
here to criticize you.
It's not a
Trust me,
criticism.
and I'm not criticizing you. I wanna make that clear. I just wanna make sure, in these times when I've only got 8 people taking care of my roads in this town, and they're working their butt off, and we keep looking for more staff at the water pollution control, and we know that they're not doing their job. You know that they're not doing their job. I have a problem with that. That's all I'm gonna say on this issue, Madam Chairman. Thank you
Madam
for the
Chairman.
floor.
Hey, 1 minute, no.
Yep.
You got this personnel here, you have 18 positions. Are all of these positions filled?
The one that needs to be filled is the laborer. Then we have one position to fill.
There's one laborer that isn't filled, is that what
Correct.
you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm going to increase the staff by 1 in 2016 budget. And I'm going to increase it with a laborer.
Right. Go ahead, Dominic.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Guy,
Yes.
the overtime is $100,000. Now, the way I look at it, you could hire 2 more people. I mean, you have someone who's working for, you were saying that, that the people aren't producing what they should. They have a base salary. Look at the overtime they can make. They don't do a good job, you're gonna pay them to do a lousy job by issuing overtime. Now, I would rather see more people, less overtime. I believe people take advantage of overtime when it's available to them. I'm not saying emergencies, I know that overtime happens, that's uncontrollable. But $100,000 of overtime appears to me to be a little, not an extreme amount. And, I don't know where that number comes from, but that's just my personal opinion on it. The other thing I see in your budget that I would just like to make a comment on, you have $4,500 for advertising. Why are we advertising for something that is in so much demand? To me, I don't see advertising as necessary. I mean, why would we advertise for more business when it comes to us without advertising? Just a statement. I don't know why your advertising is there, but it's something that I thought that I saw a little amount. And the only other thing I am gonna comment is, I am glad that the sewer commissioners, are gonna be coming on board here. Recently, no matter who it is, I believe they're gonna do a good job, because I think some of the main issues, and like I said, Donna said she's gonna get political, but I'm gonna get a little political. I believe that the whole town benefits from the water pollution control facility, yet only part of the town is paying for it. And I'll end my statement there, and thank you for coming in, Guy, and I believe you are doing a great job, thank you.
Thank you. Overtime, through you, Madam Chairman, overtime is not scheduled. It does become emergency. We have staff on call each week. You have two operators, an operator and a labor, and you have a manager on call to answer any alarms that may come in. If a sand filter backs up and it cannot clear itself, the skater tries to clear it, does not clear, then personnel have to come into the facility and do that manually. They manually backwash it, reset it, and get it back up and running. So that's overtime. And I can't eliminate it because,
So you can hire someone to do that job.
so that
Excuse me,
means
that's
if
for you,
it,
Madam Chair.
then I would have to increase my shifts. So if I have someone, if this filter decides to act up at 1 o'clock in the morning, there's nobody there to do that. Somebody has to come in and do that, so that's overtime. And
You
I
had a
get,
laborer on that, excuse me, guy,
Yeah.
to interrupt you, if you had a laborer even at $50,000 a year salary to do that job, you're saving $50,000.
the job is done constantly. It's when it has a problem. The
Have a
beauty of
problem person on salary.
Okay, yeah.
I understand the viewpoint that you're trying to say.
Am I wrong here, Dirk?
You are.
Okay, explain it to me, thank you.
You have to have probably at least 2 people on there, probably a third given for any vacation times. So then you're also thinking about the benefits on there. So if we have $100,000 in overtime, when you take 3 people at 50,000, you're looking at 150,000. Then the benefits on top of that. So it's actually a loss at the end. There's a certain level of overtime where you actually save money overall, and that's part of having the SCADA system in there as well, is so that we don't have to have the personnel on all those shifts. Now, believe me, I would love to have enough people, because then I would try in the big snowstorms, hopefully they'd have CDLs and I could steal them from Guy for some of the snow and ice, but.
And to you, Madam Chair, again, that's all well and good, but you mean to tell me that you cannot hire someone that doesn't work, that just does emergencies 24/7? If he doesn't do anything, he still gets paid, but he can come in whenever there's an emergency. You mean to tell me that 1 or 2 persons you can't pay on a salary under $100,000 and save money?
I don't,
You have unions.
yeah, I was gonna
I-
say,
I-
union
this is a
issues,
bylaw
yeah.
issue.
Includes the straight time and the premium time. So we're really just talking about the premium time here, which is a third of this.
Thank you, Tom.
That's the plus, it's 33,000.
But we don't know what the premium time is. I mean, generally, running 5 to 10% overtime is the way most productive organizations are set up. Because if it's set up to do emergencies and so forth, you would expect that that's, particularly with a union, because you know you're gonna have to pay extra for somebody to come in at an odd hour or do anything else like that. It's the way their contracts typically are written. I don't know how ours are written. But I think it's worth looking at. I don't think we have all the facts here, so we're just arguing about conjecture.
One of the other things is, if you're taking a 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week process, that means you're running 3 shifts. Right now, you're running one.
3. We're running 3, the plant runs 3 shifts.
Right.
Only 1 is staffed.
Only one is staffed. If you're fully staffed, or even emergency staffed for 3 shifts, it's more than just 1 person or 2 people that you have to add.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's let Guy finish rather than shouting out at him for a moment, okay?
Okay. And
let's go.
just briefly on advertising, we advertise many different things, whether it be, meetings for public awareness programs, whatever. So advertising doesn't mean we're advertising for business, we're just advertising things that are happening for the general public.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have certain requirements that we
No,
have to
that's-
advertise.
That answers my
to.
question, thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Good.
I think a little bit of overtime is probably some incentive. Some of these guys don't get paid that much, just as an opinion. But could you tell me a little bit about outside contractors for $182,000? And could some of that be done internally? Do you need more capital equipment to lower that? What is that?
Right now, outside contracting is mostly engineering. We're doing quite a bit of projects, and I gotta say, engineers become critical to them, whether I like it or not. It's DEP mandated when we do any type of process change at the plant, that an engineer study it, design it, and we submit it to DEP. Engineers, $250, $300 an hour, $350 an hour. It's nothing for them to be there 8 hours, nothing for them to be there 40 hours. So outside contracting. We have an I&I program, inflow and infiltration, engineers again, so that's a cost for them, that comes out of contractors. Rubbish removal, Anything that has to do with hiring somebody to come in to provide a service is outside contractors. So that number is a whole big part. We got Simplex Grinnell, they come in and they maintain our fire systems to make sure that that's mandated by law, the Wareham Fire Department. That's outside contractor. They're in there, they have a contract to do that. We have generators that are maintained. We have a contract company to come in and maintain those generators. We have, as you know, 45 generators plus some at the plant. That's outside contractors. That number includes every type of service that we get at the plant, whether it be immediate by engineering or ongoing, some of these contracts that we have in place. And those contracts are at the town hall, at the accountant's office. She's very good about making sure that we provide those contracts. So when the bills become paid, she can tie them up to those contracts. So that's what outside contractors are.
Would it be less expensive to put an engineer on staff? I see equipment as another line, buildings, I assume that's all maintenance you're talking about?
It's all maintenance,
generator
yeah.
maintenance.
Maintenance of the buildings in general, with roofs, you know, you gotta shell them off,
I assume
maintain them,
that's
and all that good
building.
stuff. That's buildings. And we had talked about an engineer, staff engineer, Derek and I have talked about that exclusively. And even with that staff engineer, there's engineering we're gonna contract to also. But we had talked about the merits of having an engineer on staff. Absolutely.
Sounds like if you're going to grow, might be something to
It's
run the numbers
absolutely.
on.
Good point, and we've definitely discussed that. We really truly have, because we're always with consultants. Every time we do something or think of doing something, we have to do it through a consultant. So yes, we have talked about it.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have anything else for us?
No, I just, I have nothing specific for you. I don't like to beat a dead horse. I just want to remind you that, you know, we have a part of our plan, I think we lose sight. We always talk about the 2005 upgrade, and that was only a small part of our facility. We have pump stations that are old. Some of them as old as I. That's not quite true. I was born in the 50s, 70s. But some that are vintage 1970. We've got infrastructure. We've got pipes that we've never seen. We're discovering things that are really rocking us. At the plant itself, in 2005, electronics in 10 years become an issue. We're facing them now. And it's all reflected in the budget. I'm always asked, why can't the budget get less? And because it's a constant upgrading, and we have to really be aware of that and cognizant of that. At our facility now, in our blower building, which is our most recent new building with all the modern technology, we're replacing VFDs rapidly. It's a constant thing. When a VFD goes down, it takes out the entire operation. We're replacing 3 blower VFDs as we speak. We've just done one that runs our recirculating pumps, our activated sludge pumps. We just did one the other day. And these are $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 at a pop. I've got one VFD we're replacing. It's a $47,000 VFD. And so electronics are good for 15 years.
What is
So
a VFD?
it's a variable frequency controller. So it allows the pump to run at different speeds. You see, and so it talks to that pump, and we talk to it through SCADA as to what's happening in the process. And it also saves money, energy-wise. So those things are happening too. So we're at the time frame where those things are going to start needing repair, so that reflects in the budget. And it's difficult. And I do want to say that we have a CIP program. We're almost done with it. It's a capital improvement program. And the point we're at right now, we spent all this time to do an evaluation. We had an engineering firm, GHD, and we've evaluated the entire pump stations and the treatment facility. They literally, when we were out there, we looked at all the things, we looked at valves that don't work, looked at pumps, the age of the pumps, the antiquation. We looked at our old systems. We've got some kettle systems, 5 kettle systems in the onset area that are very old. We're to the point we can't even get parts anymore. We looked at that. And so now we're taking it into the critical part, is doing a risk assessment. And we're asking ourselves a question of everything. What if that goes out today? What is the risk? What is the dilemma? And so once we finish that exercise, then we're going to prioritize everything that we need to do, put it in a 20-year plan, and present that to the sewer commissioners so we can have that part of our budget, and then it'll come to you guys in the finance. So you'll see how we're going to do in the next 20 years, how everything we're going to do. So that's where we are right now, and that's the stage we're in it right now at the risk. We've spent a lot of time in the evaluation and the studying, and now we're going to put in the risk assessment to it.
Okay, can we go through what Derek's here as well? With this, you got the capital outlay here, that's $1.6 million there. Page 5 is the capital items. I mean, how much of this is priority? Is this like a 5-year plan, or is this?
I'm doing this, explain to you, for priority, speaking of priority, We're right now just did 3 compressors in our generators in our 2015 budget. We did Onset Pier, we did South Water, and we did North Water. If you go out to those stations, you'll see our emergency generators there because the generators don't work. Pinehurst, Ruggles, and Depot. Depot Street has a starter that we replaced. It took us about 3 months to get it. We have oil pans that we can't get. That's this generator is leaking. It starts sometimes it does not start. So we need to replace it. Ruggles is a nightmare. It doesn't transfer like it's supposed to transfer. So that's if the power goes out, it may or may not transfer. We may or may not have power, so we have to go out there and babysit it. Same thing with Pinehurst. We're going to be replacing 3 generators per year. So these are old, and we can't get parts for them, so they become a high priority because it's backup generation. If the generator does not work, that pump station does not work, we're moving no product whatsoever. So that means we'll shut down that area of town, and that certainly is not an option. So it's a high priority. The pump stations, we've got plumbing, those where the pipes connect to. We've got check valves, they don't work anymore. Check valves are locked in. So if we had a backflow coming to that facility, it's going to overwhelm that wet well. So that's a high priority. We priced it out, each one. We're looking at the Ruggles, we're looking at the Pinehursts, we're looking at the older stations. We've priced them out, and that's the closest we've come to pricing, $164,000. That's a priority. The aeration tanks, if you go out and walk the aeration tanks, we're just completing we have 2 clarifiers, they're vintage 1970. If you go and look, you'll see that we just got done doing the epoxy coating. I got pictures to show you the concrete I can put my finger in the concrete. Rebar is exposed and showing, so it becomes a structural problem. If we lose those tanks structurally, then we're in trouble. And so if we look at our aerations, we're looking at the 2 new aeration bases that are vintage 1970. We've got cracks all along the aeration base. When we take them down and we look at the ceramic tiles. Below the ceramic tiles are little cracks in the concrete, so they have to be rehabbed. So we don't have a choice. I can't say, let's just wait for them to fall down because it's that critical. And also in the aeration basins, we have the old structures above them because they used to be mechanical. Those structures, when you look underneath, they're flaking, and you can see water. So we don't even know if they're safe anymore. If they fall into the aeration basin, we have some serious concerns. So it has to be done, and we want to do it in 2016. The outbuilding, if I had to say that's something I could eliminate with the outbuilding, but let me tell you about the outbuilding. It's just a structure. We're looking for a structure. I've got equipment outside that's rotting. I've got a Bobcat with every attachment. Half the attachments are gone because they're out in the weather. So I want to bring everything in. I've got all my equipment. I got trucks outside, so it's unheard of. As we grew, the facility grew and the buildings grow. No storage is growing with it. So we need to put something, because when you spend $60,000, $100,000 for a piece of equipment, to leave it out in the weather is ludicrous. And so that's what the building comes in. It's not protecting what we're doing. You know, we're doing a good job trying to get things, but now we got to protect it, and that's the big thing. That's what that building's about. The clarifier, inside the clarifiers, we did the rehab of the structure. There's domes in the middle of them, for lack of a better word, we call them domes. But what it is, it's a big unit that has a huge gear that rotates these arms 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're guaranteed, or they're designed for 20 years. We're beyond that. I had them inspected to have these tanks down. I brought in the manufacturer, inspected them, and said they're beyond, guy, they got to go. They could break down any time. So I've got to look at that, and I've got to do that. The dilemma with our facility in clarification and doing these projects, it has to be done after October 1st. We're getting nailed with snow, it was uncalled for, we didn't prepare for it, but to get these things back online to us has been a nightmare. It's caused us all kinds of issues, because I can only take things down from October, end of October, to the end of March, because April 1st to October 31st, I'm in permit season, and the plant was not designed with any extra. I can't take off a piece of equipment and make my permit. So that's the constraints that we're under. Equipment in general, yes, the loader, I need a loader, and I'm going to put it in the budget. I'm trying to get one now. Our loader is gone. It had 11,000 hours. The pumps are gone. It's going to cost me $20,000 generally to fix it. When you talk to the manufacturer, and you talk to the different, and they're saying for 11,000 hours, you can throw in good money after bad. I got to replace it. A loader is an integral part of facilities. We move rags with it. We load rags on with grits and screenings, and we ship it to Bourne. So that's integral part. In the interim, David's been very great to help us when we need help, but his loaders are busy. So we're definitely, it's a priority. I wouldn't get it if I didn't need it. Plant water system, that's high priority. That's, what happens is when we put our water out to the river, we take a portion of it in to do all our seals. It lubricates the seals of our pumps. We use it to run our GBT for our dewatering. We use it to wash down bases. We use it for everything. Every week, in the past month or two, we've had emergency repairs. I got water going everywhere. There are no valves. The valves are either frozen or they don't exist. So I can't isolate water. So when I have a break, as an example, we have lines in the aeration basins that send water to them to keep foaming down. Because of the temperatures, those lines are gone. They're broken. I can't isolate them. So I have to shut down the entire system. I run the risk of burning out a pump, so I got to bring in city water and run city water, and it's very expensive to run city water. That's why we have a plant water system. So that is, I have to bring it up to date. I have to dig up every one of these valves. I have to replace valves. I have to add more isolation, so I have the ability to isolate. If I have a broken pipe, then I can isolate that broken pipe, continue to operate, and then make that repair and move on. I don't have that ability. It's been crazy. And then, of course, the rehab, I give you an example. You go to Kendrick Street, go see Kendrick Street Pump House. You can see inside of it. The roof's gone, the side's gone. It's a mess. Look at the 6 and 28 pump stations. We've got rack boards gone. We've got all kinds of things gone. And so I have to address them. And so they become priorities. They truly do. So everything in this budget is a priority. And we've got much, much more. I think the projections we've given folks, and it's not unrealistic, $30 to $40 million of repairs coming down the line, and that's what the CIP program is going to talk about. So this $1 million that we have in this budget, yes, none of it's fluff, none of it, it's priority. It's things that we really need to address to continue to operate.
Sounds like you ought to run the MBTA too.
The sad part is, what's wrong with the MBTA? It's old, it hasn't been maintained, and all of a sudden things come to light. And everybody, as we're going through life, it's like, don't spend money, don't spend money. We all have that issue because, I'm moving. And then when we come to a crisis and the MBTA shuts down, the first thing people say is, how could that happen? How could that happen? Then you go look at some of the cars, the tracks, the ages, and the money that hasn't been spent. And then there's also political things that we can get into. But bottom line is, it's an old infrastructure. And so we have the same issues here, whether it be the wastewater treatment facility, the town of Wareham in general. We have old infrastructure, and people have been kicking the can down the road for many, many years. And to have good people that are willing to sit down and roll up the sleeves and bite the bullet and do the very best we can, I admire you, because we're at that point. We're at that point where we can no longer say, we really can't have the money, we really don't have the money. And we don't, trust me, we don't, but we've got to find a way to make things work.
Okay. I'm not gonna get into that. Can you take 5 minutes, Eric? And,
Yes.
Guy is here to explain a little bit about this stabilization fund and how and when it's going to get funded.
I don't think this one's working, but the stabilization fund, we're putting an article in for the Springtown meeting. And part of that, there's multiple ways that it can be funded, and that's probably going to be worked out through the sewer commissioners as well. But you can use it through the retained earnings, which is essentially the free cash of the water pollution control facility. Or you could put it as part of the budget and put some dollars in that every single year. We've looked into that. That's part of why we're doing, talk to Guy, putting more capital in this year. But eventually, you're going to have big projects coming down the pike, and you're going to want to have money to pre-fund them, believe me. So this is basically creating a stabilization fund. You can't access that without a vote of town meeting, so there are controls around it. And it isn't just something that could be spent willy-nilly, if you will, for that technical term.
Good. Okay.
Are you okay with it?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I just want to add, Derek, that we definitely talked to Department of Revenue, got guidance, and they're encouraging us to do something like this and to be very specific. So with the sewer commissioners on board, it's something that we'll take up and really, really focus on. So it's great. It's the way to go. It's real.
Great. Any other questions?
I do, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Through you. Guy, I understand, I believe that you've just touched the surface with the failing infrastructure. Sounds like you know what we need, and this is just a small portion of it from what I understand. I mean, as far as the pipes and everything under the ground. I don't know if this question's for you or for Derek. Does the water pollution control facility have the ability to borrow, like the town? You know, its own debt, rather than through the town?
Well, it always would go through the town as the town entity, but we would put it as part of the budget. There's already debt that's exclusively, if you look at your debt sheet in there, there's debt that's exclusively for the water pollution control facility. But it wouldn't be its own entity. It's still part of the town of Wareham.
Okay, and we are not maxed out at that debt capacity, correct?
Oh,
The
no,
water- okay. Because what I look at is, I mean, yes, we have some money, yes, we're gonna do a stabilization, but I believe we're looking at a lot more for the infrastructure than what I see on paper. So,
How
to
many
get
years
that
are-
money, I think so much gonna be necessary.
Upgrade.
On the plant upgrade, it's, let's see, 2019 too, we probably have about 10 years left on the plant upgrade. And what I'm saying is that that money could be shifted to someplace else. If you look at our debt line, as we start paying debt, we shift the money to someplace else. So the debt will always be the same. I think that's what he's saying to answer your
I have no problem
question.
with the debt, I'm just worried about our future infrastructure.
Well, again, I agree too, and that's where part of the CIP, and that's where we are now with it, and that's called the risk assessment. And so asking the hard questions is the value of each thing that we have problems with. And so, and if we lose that today, what does it do to the plant? What's the ramifications? And so that's going to help us to answer your question. Some things we may find that we need to finance immediately. Other things we can do in the budget over the 20-year period. So we won't have those answers until we complete the risk assessment part of the CIP. And you're right, it may be that we have to come to Derek and say, listen, we need to figure this out. Right now we need 15 million, I don't have it. So how do we do this? So those are questions we'll get more specific with once we get the CIP completed and assess it. And so, okay, these are high priorities. If this goes down today, I'm in trouble. As an example, I have a valve at my Narrows pump station. There's a valve. If I had a failure, a catastrophic failure, I cannot shut that plant down. I cannot. That is serious business. So I've got to address it. I've got to address it. And it's part of that valve thing. I've got to address it because that valve, I have to have the ability to isolate that pump station. I don't have it. And it becomes, and you talk about work, what it becomes is a very simple thing is exercising that valve. If we had exercised that valve since 1970, it would still be operational. But in the process, we stopped exercising it.
So it got neglected.
It gets neglected. We don't exercise it. And so those are the kind of things that we really need to focus on, production and replacement. And so as we move forward, we're getting better at, no, this is the process. We've got two programs. One that's we call it in the cloud. It's a maintenance program. We're in the middle of developing it, and we also the EPAC program we're developing. And that's going to spit out worksheets on a daily basis so we can't forget the exercising. It's going to come out and say, this valve needs to be exercised today. So that'll be assigned and it won't get left beside. So that valve will always be turned because when you need that valve, it has to operate it. It's like if you lay down in the bed for 15, 20 days, get up and see what happens. Exercise. Everything has to be exercised. So that's where we are with that.
Donna, last comment in?
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%, but I'm so reluctant because your people aren't doing their job now. They haven't been exercising the valve. They haven't been taking care of the pump stations. How are you going to assure the taxpayers and the sewer users of this town that your staff is gonna start doing their job? I know you're doing your job, to the best of your ability, and I'm not questioning it. But my question is, I don't mind throwing money into something, but again, last year, $400,000, which is blowing in the wind out there. How are you gonna make your people care, like you care?
The $400,000 reduced the odors in that facility by 87%. So there are some issues with and the $400,000 it's the epoxy system that went to odor. And we can show you the numbers. I can show you the odor complaints that we did not get. 85% reduction in odors.
But you didn't take care of the equipment.
The equipment state, now we have, the problem is, with the weather is how to get the equipment out of the basin. And the weather jumped on us and caused the problem. So it's a learning process. We have some guys that really work hard and they try their best. I'm serious. And you know what, I call it, and to be very blunt, I have no problem and I want to say this in the nicest way, because I support my guys, it's about education. And you know what? If we belong to a system that allows us to do things and makes life acceptable in things, then people become complacent. And you know what? It's not their problem. It's our problem for allowing this to happen. It's like we have monsters out there we talk about all the time, kids doing this, and we say what's their problems. Well, they have parents that raised them, so there's a problem. That's the big picture. So our job now is to change the mentality, the way we think about work, and the way we think about production. That's what we're working on. It doesn't make them bad people. It just means more education. It means more instructions, more values. That's where we're going with it. So I don't throw my staff under the bus, but yes, like everyone, we need to change the way we do things. And they're starting, and it's a tough thing to make people change, and I mean that in the nicest way. When you've been doing something for 50 years or 20 years or 30 years, and somebody can say, okay, this is what we're doing, that is an adjustment. And we're slowly working towards it. It's a hard transition. So I agree with you, and we're going to work towards that, and we're going to continue to work towards that. We're going to make it better, and we're going to try to get people, because trust me, to rehire is expensive to train. So it's cheaper for us to take the people we have, re-educate, refocus, redirect, and get better at what we're doing. And so we're working on that. And so that's where we're going with this whole thing.
Let's, we can beat this one to death, but let's say we come back here a year from now to go through the next budget. It would be great to have, here's a set of measurements that got in place that address Donna's question about stuff that they're doing and showing success.
You know,
with
I
them.
don't think we have to remember that we're the FinCom, okay? We don't micromanage these people, okay?
We manage the money.
Right, we manage the money, so let's not pick apart all of this. There are gonna be sewer commissioners that are gonna get to the bottom of this, and hopefully make things better. Guy is obviously doing his best to bring his staff up to speed. There's money in here for tuition, I see, so there's education that's gonna happen. So I think we should leave it at that. Any final comments? Go ahead, David.
Just one comment, Guy. I've always appreciated the fact that you've come in and you've looked ahead. You have a capital planning program. You're looking at risk assessment. It's things that every company, every business, and every town should be doing. I want to thank you for doing that.
Yes.
Obviously, everybody has concerns about where the money is going and how it's being spent. But I think you've made a very valiant effort and successful effort in many cases to go and look ahead and try to project where we're going and where the system's going. So, thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for your time this morning.
My pleasure,
Getting here
thank you.
early than we did.
That's okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support.
Thank you, Guy.
I always think so.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello,
Welcome, Chief.
thank you.
Chief,
Yes,
yes,
congratulations,
yes,
Chief.
congratulations.
Thank you very much. I think, after we get looking at this, we'll see.
Now we're all done, they said thank you, everyone
Yeah.
can head home, it'll be great.
With me is my administrative assistant Cassandra Cassidy, and also Lieutenant John Walsack. Two right-hand, two right-hand
There's nothing better than a good team, Kevin.
Right.
I just want to start by saying that we, on the budget before you, we sat down with Derek Sullivan, and we went through different scenarios and everything else. And we went line by line, and I think this is a modest budget request, very modest. Especially what we really could use and everything else. But I understand that the town finances, and my objective, believe it, is to work within the budget. That's the bottom line, to work within the budget. There'll be no games and no frills. And matter of fact, we are definitely the no frills department. I can tell you that in this whole area. So this is, and getting back to basics is the theme of my administration. It's going to be to get back to the basics. You don't see the jet skis out there, motorcycles, things like that. Right now, everything's on hold when it comes to the extra things, because we have to get back to the ground floor, and we're working our way up. the backbone of our police department, of any police department, is the patrol division. And that's why you're going to see in the budget that I'm asking for a number of patrolmen. I believe it's 4 vacancies right now. I would love to have 10. I would love to have 12. I would love to have as many as I could get. But like I said, realistically and staying within budget numbers, we're asking for the 4 vacancies to be filled and a part-time dispatcher. Staying on that theme, I'd like to, yeah, there's 10 over there. Have you take a look at our organizational chart for the Wareham Police Department. The first page that you're going to look at, is the organizational chart as it stands today in February of 2015. The next chart below that is what it looked like in 2013. And you can see that since that time, it's pretty much decimated. But we are working at the ground levels. And we're still handling the calls, and I'm so proud of our guys and our detectives, because you would think that we have a 100-man department and 20 detectives, but that's not the case. The work that they put out shows otherwise. And the town should, I'm thankful for it, and I hope the town is. We have to provide the best service for the town. When it comes down to it, they don't think about that. When they have to call the police, they don't think about the numbers and everything else. They think about the police response, and we have to keep that going to their expectations. So you see the 2013 compared to the 2015 organizational chart. And then I went through the town reports, and you'll see our current staffing levels with a chief, 1 lieutenant, 6 patrol sergeants, a detective, a sergeant, 2 detectives, 29 patrolmen, and we have 2 cadets in the academy right now. Compare that to the next page in 2012, when there were 47 as compared to 40 right now, sworn officers. We had a chief, we had 3 lieutenants, one of which who retired in 2012. There were 3 detectives, 2 investigators, 31 patrolmen. Compare that with 2005, when there were 47 sworn. 3 lieutenants, a chief, 4 detectives. 1 was assigned to the drug task force, which we no longer have. We don't have anybody assigned to the drug task force right now. 1 investigator also. In 2000, if you go to the next page, in 2000, 45 sworn. You had a captain, a chief, a captain, 2 lieutenants, and a detective sergeant, and 4 detectives with 30 patrolmen. In 1990, there was the chief had 1 captain and 2 lieutenants, 4 detectives, and if you notice on this one, administrative assistant with 3 records clerks. So in other words, Cassandra's doing the job of 4 people right now. And then you see the current staffing levels. So my goal is to make at least, if you look at the first organizational chart, the current organizational chart, as compared to the 2013, you'll see that in 2013, I was the operations division commander, and you see what I had under me. Now look at 2015, and you see Lieutenant Walsek, and he's doubled his duties. He's got it all under him, with the assistance of a sergeant, John Gerard, who's doing an awesome job helping out. So with the building of the patrol force, my recommendation is to make 1 lieutenant, another lieutenant, which I cannot do right now because I don't want to pull from my patrol force until I have enough people on the patrol force. I can't sacrifice the lower level right now. So, because if I make a lieutenant today, I have to pull a sergeant up, and that creates another patrolman's open spot. Are there any questions on the organizational chart? keep in mind, Lieutenant Walsek ran the numbers yesterday. Last year, we had 47,000 calls for service. And this is 2015. The crime levels are different. The types of crime have stepped up quite a bit since 1990. On a side note, like I said, we had to pull our drug task force member out. We also had to decline, and as soon as I hung up the phone, I felt bad that we had to decline. Plymouth PD just started a street crimes unit, and they can work throughout the towns, throughout all the areas and everything else, and they said, we'll help out. We come in with the street crimes unit, but you have to dedicate one person to the street crimes unit full-time. We couldn't do it. We can't do it right now. It's a goal. The goal is to get somebody in the task force. The goal is to have somebody on that street crimes unit. Wareham not represented in that street crimes unit in a town with 9,000 people involved in the street crimes unit is a travesty.
Absolutely.
But it's something that, like I said, I can't throw the baby out with the bathwater and say I don't care about the budget. I'm going to be here for a while, and I'm not going to operate that way. So my intention is to work within the budget, but I'm not giving you this as the woe is me story for the Wareham Police Department. I'm just stating the facts. And through the bare bones budget and the bare bones structure of the department, like I said, I just want to commend my people for the job that they put out, from the top patrolman to the bottom patrolman administration, for the job they put out. Like I said, I guarantee you, people think that we have a 100-man department and 15 detectives and everything going on, and it's not that way. I have the people that put out that capacity. The dispatching situation, there are 2 shifts a week that come out on the schedule off the bat that are overtime shifts because of we have 8 dispatches. And the schedule works out that there are 2 shifts right off the bat. That probably cost, I think, Cassandra, around $40,000 a year. So my objective is to fill that as soon as possible, a part-time dispatcher that works those 2 shifts. And that will take care of that. We're looking for any dime we can save, believe me. Equipment-wise, we're working through grants. We had a nice meeting with the capital planning last year. We were able to purchase new weapons. Our weapons were outdated. They were obsolete. The parts were obsolete. We were able to purchase through the capital plan weapons and new portables. There were actually areas in town that the portables that we had could not reach the station. So we have, through the capital plan, we have new portables and new weapons. And the tasers, we acquired 12 new tasers through a grant, and we're asking for more. I have a copy of the capital plan if you wanted to see it. And we're also asking for vehicles as a whole another situation. The vehicles, as they stand, the Dodge Chargers are all over 130,000 at least. They're falling apart. They're costing us huge money. And I can tell you that in the last 6 months, on the Chargers, it's been $15,000 has been spent on repairs alone. That's just to keep them on the road. We've made progress through the town administrator. We've made progress with the purchase of vehicles. You see the SUVs that we have out there. They're very useful. They're all year-round vehicles, all-wheel drive, and Ford has put out a great product with these vehicles. But we are in desperate need of vehicles to keep the rotation going. It was nice to get those 8 to 10 vehicles of Chargers in one batch, but now the thought was that they looked great when they were lined up in front of that station, but they weren't staggered. We have to stagger them to keep the fleet moving, and that's what we're trying to do now. the animal control van has 265,000 miles on it. And she goes out every day and she's doing her job every day. We have cars at 180,000. I have a list of the vehicles if you want to see that too. I'll show them that there. You'll see a list of the vehicles in the police department with the mileage, the years and the mileage. We actually have a small boneyard of vehicles that we're pulling parts from to try to keep a lot of those vehicles on the road.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Dominic.
through you. Chief, on the leased vehicles, is there a, maintenance, did we purchase any type of, maintenance or warranty on the new lease vehicles that you're talking about that's costing you money, or have they outlived that warranty program, or was there one available?
Yes, we have plans. There are different plans on different vehicles. The Dodge Chargers have different plans than the Fords, and then a lot of the vehicles, though, are out of their agreement.
And that's where you said that 15,000 was
Right,
spent on those
they're out of the-
warranty vehicles?
they're out of the agreement.
Was extended warranties or anything available? I mean, have you looked into seeing what might be more cost effective as far as that goes? Because you need good vehicles. Without that, you're dead in the water.
Right.
We had purchased, extended warranties on those vehicles originally, but that's all, they're
That's
past the
since gone
mileage.
to, mileage has ruined that, rather than years, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman?
Go ahead, Donna.
Do you have plans of continuing to replenish with the SUVs instead of the?
That is the plan, to keep the vehicles the same.
Yeah, roads are.
Yes, to keep the,
dictated.
right, to keep the vehicles the same, and to, so that when we have a snowstorm, we have icy roads, when we have things, at least I know that the officers are as safe as they can be in an SUV. And the state police went to them. Most towns are going to them.
Right. How many are you looking for this year?
The capital plan, we asked for 5.
Five.
The SUVs are surprisingly fuel efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They are.
the 6-cylinder.
Right. And the cost isn't that much different than a sedan,
Oh, I know.
so,
I,
yeah.
I'm behind that 100%. Maybe not 5.
Go ahead, Jeff.
How does our age and mileage and so forth compare to other departments in the area? If you look at kind of our average age and what we get out of a vehicle versus some of the other towns around us.
I think most towns around us aren't running them this long, this long. They have a scheduled budgetary item that replenishes the cruises after a certain amount of time. And we're always trying to catch up, and that's the issue. And as we're trying to catch up, we'll give you 2 this year, maybe 2 in 3 years. As we're trying to catch up, the mileage is piling up. I don't think there's too many cars out there, too many vehicles with 165,000, 170,000 cruisers that are responding. The thing that we do, we keep up the maintenance on them,
Yeah, it's key.
things like that. And cars today, I understand cars today that 100,000
Nothing.
is not the same as it was in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's a different 100,000. But I think when you're hitting 170, 160, 170, now you're starting to see that it needs
Your
replenished.
miles are hard to, miles too, I mean.
And they're hard. There's 3 people using,
I'm sorry, can you let's switch up, use that microphone, this one, so. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but almost with police vehicles, you almost should do hours on the engines, because don't forget, when
Yeah, I know.
they're sitting there, they're on idle and such, that it's a lot more wear and tear. They're not just going from point A to point B and shutting it off. And like you said, it is hard miles, so it's, I knew at a even my old little Prius there, 176,000 miles, that's when everything started falling apart on it. And I don't think I was driving that as hard as it would.
We could debate. Madam Chairman, can I?
Go ahead, Jeff.
How does this organization and budget relate to, when you mentioned, the crime rate? Obviously, if you look at the statistics, we have a high property crime rate, much more above the state average than other towns and so forth. So, and first of all, it would help probably for all of us define the property crime. Is that street crime? Is that house break? What is it? And I mean, violent crime, I think we know, but
property crimes probably would fall under the General Law 266, which deals with vandalisms, break-in enterings, something of not violence related in terms of, someone getting injured. So property crimes, anything to do that's gonna cause us, people's insurance rates to go up. That could be a rock.
right. I mean, it's
Or a TV taken out of the house.
yeah. As a taxpayer, I mean, the first thing you think about is the insurance rates and everything else are going to go up. I mean, it's kind of like traffic accidents. If you live in a town with a lot of accidents, your insurance rates are going to be higher than that. How do you basically take this budget and this organization and apply it to, setting a goal to bring it, let's say, back to a state average? Because we were talking the other day about what do we want Wareham to be, and how do we attract people? That's a number that we as a community have got to attack. It can't all just be you. I mean, don't
Right,
for a minute think that we're saying it, because we got to do things too, and maybe we need ordinances or something to help. But how do we take the budget and drive that down? So.
Well, I gotta be honest with you, we don't look at the state average and try to work towards the state average. We try to work towards the concentration of our town, and how the state average comes out, how we come out with the state average. We hope we're well below that.
That would be nice, but I was just saying, if we even got to that, would be a good
in our
achievement
budgetary,
for all of
in our,
us.
within the budget, trying to operate within the budget as a police department, trying to
Yeah.
reduce the crime, is at this point, we are reactive. So much so that we're almost too reactive, but we're reactive instead of proactive. A police department has to have that healthy balance of being proactive and reactive. Reactive is chasing that average, is trying to do what I can to stay in that average. And proactive is trying to wipe out that without even looking at it.
What do you need to proactive? If, because we got a list here, at some point, it's not-
A significant increase in
Got-
manpower and a significant increase in programs that show that we can be proactive. The drug task force, the street crimes unit, the small units that you can make within your own department, things like that. At this point, we realize that working within the budget, the baby steps towards that.
Can I want to ask you?
Before you start,
Go ahead.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair and Pro
No,
Tem.
Madam-
just for
She's
her,
in the
if
back.
she's coming back
Just
down.
re-entered.
The list you're looking at, that really isn't even the proactive list with the increases.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, but I think the general public should know, you're looking beyond the numbers that we presented for what would be the modest increase.
I guess what I'm concerned with, as well as you have to be concerned with, you have a child that you're raising in this town, going to our schools. We're losing our children every day. I mean, I've two friends of mine have buried their grandchildren in the last 6 months, drug, and we don't have a drug enforcement. I guess, what can you bring to the table within the budget constraints that you're living? And can we get the community policing back? And, I mean, we were very active with the community policing. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to see rebel rousers out there doing your job. But how can we get the community more active to help you guys? Is that a good, is that a good focusing point that we can, I know Lieutenant Walczyk worked on the community policing very diligently. And I was very involved with North Cambridge in their establishment of the crime task force. How can we bring the thought process out to help you guys with what you're living with? And I can't believe we don't have a drug enforcement.
Well, that statement is kind of, I was going to tell you, that's kind of wrong. We do have drug enforcement.
Good.
It's not that we don't,
That's all I want to hear.
scary not to have
yeah,
I felt that and knew that, so saying
Yeah.
that, I let
Okay.
it go, yeah.
that's
Okay.
not correct.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
You know, like I said, the detectives that are working are actively working drug cases all the time. It's just that, you know, the 5 cases they're working on, they could be working on 15 more. There's a lot of drug cases. We have excellent relationships with the drug task force. We're still an associate member. We can call them in for help anytime. They do work with other departments. I mean, when we have a drug raid in town, which is often, you can read the paper, it is often. You know, there'll be people walking through the station by my office, so-and-so from this department, so-and-so from that department. I'm here to help. We're here to help. We have great relationships with all area departments and other task forces. So there is definitely enforcement. That wouldn't happen. But as far as community policing, with crime watch groups and things like, there's a fine line between vigilantism and proper police work. I mean, properly trained officers, these officers are properly trained and everything else. It's 2015. It's not a cakewalk out there for the officers who are equipped with all their equipment and everything else, never mind somebody out there trying to play policeman, if you will. But to scale that down a bit, I totally agree. That's a proactive thing that we would very much welcome. A community effort, reaching out to the communities. And I think I started that last week by going to, even on a smaller scale, the coffee hour, talking to residents. It's going to take a cooperative effort. We can't ride around with the mirrored sunglasses with the windows up in our cruisers. And it's going to take that type of effort, neighborhood group, neighborhood meetings. There are more neighborhoods meeting and people in neighborhoods right now that want to have meetings than I've ever seen before. So that we're going to be out there. And like you said, you know, I have neighborhood meetings at least 5 times a week because my son has basketball, my son has baseball, my son, you know, and people come up to me and talk to me about things in town. So I'm in town. I know what's happening here and there. So, but Donnie, you're totally right. We have to get back to that. But that's part of the proactive thing that I'd like to be more proactive on. But we're just running the ship right now.
Okay.
Totally.
Madam Chairman, can I ask?
Hold on, I think Thomas first. Go ahead, Tom.
Here's a series of things. The overtime pay has gone up 50%. Is that because we're not gonna make the budget this year?
Well, overtime pay as current, you mean, or
It goes
as?
from 304 to 455, which is a 50% increase. And I just suspect that this year's, you're gonna be more than 355. Is that?
Yeah, the average for the last 4 or 5 years has been closer to 580,000.
Okay.
Going down from about 650 to an all-time low last year, when interim Chief Walsh at the time took over, and now Chief Walsh. We know that I'm going to be blunt, that overtime number right there, even the increase, not realistic. So
Even the increase isn't realistic.
even the increase isn't realistic. You probably need about an extra 130,000 in that at minimum.
What is a dispatcher stipend?
They receive a stipend via their contract for EMD training, and that's the training that they had to have from beyond their normal job duties. That's what I witnessed during, Winter Storm Nemo, when all of Middleborough went down, and our dispatchers were talking a wife through how to do CPR on her husband who was unresponsive. So it's not just, they're not just in there anymore calling saying, yep, go to such and such address or anything like that. They're medically EMD trained.
It looks like you have 2 dispatchers on all the time. Is that right?
That's correct.
What are we doing with video? Anything? Are we doing any monitoring of areas or parts of traffic?
Video are great, but you still have to have the people to watch them.
No, but I mean, are we doing any, are we using it in any way? I'm talking about how can we be more efficient, make everybody more efficient by providing more information and on a continuing basis, 24 hours a day.
Well, we saw down in Florida, a lot of those the video cameras that were doing the traffic tickets, they were sued, the community, and
Yeah.
it got reversed and they had to pay back
That was
basically
because
all
of the
fine.
law, not because of that, they weren't,
Yeah.
they were catching people.
Yeah, you know, it's, I don't think that we are going to be the traffic stop town to make our budget. If you hear from our community, they want to be safe, but they don't want to live in the sort of speed trap state, town, I will say.
Raises big money.
Yeah,
We've got two areas on 6, and there'll be another area on 28, where we've got 5 traffic lights within a very short distance. Are those on any type of computer-driven?
those are state roads.
State roads. yeah.
I know, but can we work with the state to get those,
That's not us, that's
so they'll
state
be
roads.
more efficient? You won't have traffic backed up or inefficient going through those?
You'd have
areas?
to, Tom, we could petition the state, but that wouldn't be this department. That'd be us working with the Mass DOT. So that would be, but again, they're state roads. Although they were trying to turn them over to us if they did 6 and 28 over.
Chief Stanley, when I was at this meeting 2 years ago, said that there's algorithms that are being developed to be able to predict where crimes are happening and where you can concentrate effort. Is there anything happening in that area?
We do have a computer program, it's called DDAX, and that does hone in on certain areas.
Is it helpful?
It is. In certain times of the year it is, but a lot of times it gives us information that we knew. You know, there's nothing earth-shattering that's coming out of it so far. I mean, we know that there are accidents at the Jefferson Shores lights on 6 and 28, more than there are on, High Street. So some of it is information that we know, and it's a good thing if we want to show people that this is where things can happen, but things are happening all over town, so.
Jeff was next. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
when you look at, no, a follow-up on that one, when you look at repeat crimes or areas where you have to go back to the same location over and over again, do we have anything that shows how many times you go to certain areas or certain addresses for drug problems or violence problems? That, when you talk about involving the community, if that were something where, you start to get pressure from citizens to help you fix things. In other words, if somebody's renting to folks and they're all druggies, the
Yeah.
neighbors, no doubt, probably want that.
Oh, there are landlords that are spoken to and everything else, but you gotta remember, there's a lot of laws that protect, believe it or not, that person to be able to live there, to stay there, the landlord to rent to them. It's not a thing where we can call the landlord and say, hey, we were there twice for a noise complaint, what are you gonna do about it?
No, I'm just saying that the neighborhoods would start to, if you had a map like that a three-dimensional thing that it pops out at the certain addresses.
Yeah, you have to be careful of rights.
I know you
There's
don't
still,
want, none of us want vigilantes, but
I'm saying of person's rights too. I mean,
I,
At the
It's
end of
tough.
the day, my nightmare is that there is a problem house. Let's say we put it out there, we violated their rights and suddenly we're handing them a check for $25,000. And it's not because of the money, it's because of the principle of it. We've got bad characters that we're going to give money back to, and that's, it's.
No, you don't want
I
that. You
understand-
have had anything, you want it the other way around.
Right.
We've been to there 4 times, okay, you gotta start paying.
Right,
I mean,
so-
it's like false alarms with a burglar system. There are some municipalities that you have,
We do, by the way.
you start. No, well,
We do.
it was $50 every year just in one town I lived in, just to have one that I had to pay the police department every year. And then on the second or third time that it went off because a spider went across something, that started costing $100, and then it was $500 and so forth. I mean, some way of that's community involvement that people start
But to answer
watching.
your question in a nutshell, that is happening.
Yeah.
It's just not on the scale I think that you're bringing it to.
I'll probably have less mercy for somebody's
Yeah.
perpetrator's rights and abuser's rights than
Than
the
a judge.
citizens.
Than a judge.
What?
You probably have less than
is.
what the judge.
But if we're having a constant problem somewhere at an apartment or a residence or something like that, the landlord is being notified.
We ought to be
But
on
we're
their
just,
case.
you gotta be careful of how far you go with that.
All right, Dominic, go ahead.
Derek, through you, Madam Chair. Derek, I know what you just said, and you know how I think about that, as far as you're saying we don't wanna be this ticketing type of thing. But we are the gateway to Cape, so we have a lot of traffic. Now, the police department needs money to do its job, okay? Our budget constraints and all that. So if we set up, you know, a traffic or a speed area in town. Now, I've told you about the stories in Florida. Stock, Florida pays its whole bills through traffic tickets, okay? Now, I know that the manpower is short, but if we ticket a certain area where the police know that there's a flaw in the road to where the speed limit goes down or something like that, that they know everyone is wrong. And they ticket, excuse me, I'm on TV, but not local people during the summer to get money. Now, hold on.
say it again.
No, I'm gonna get in trouble for this. I understand that. I'm gonna get in trouble for this. But they up to their discretion. They can give out warnings to people. They can ticket people who are wrong. But if we ticket more during the summer hours for out-of-state people, the police budget can grow. And I know you said that you don't want to become the ticket thing. The AAA told people to drive around the town of Stockton, Florida, because they ticketed everybody. But they paid the whole budget through traffic violations. And I'm just saying, you know me, I like to make money. So why not think of how they can get more fines to grow their budget? I want them to have the money to do the job they need. So if the budget can't afford to help them more than what they can, let's have the police department try to figure out a way to gain more revenue to help the situation financially, because these guys need the money to do their job properly. Now, the budget is restricted right now. That's tying their hands. So, like I told you before, I like to make money. Why don't we try to, rather than look the way to cut, let's try to look the way to maybe make some money to help go forward.
Just New York Yankee fans.
I won't make you answer
Anybody who
that.
has a non-Massachusetts license plate, give them a ticket.
We've been trying to figure out how at least once a year we can block 25 off and then have
I
a
got
speed
no
trap.
problem.
But the state seems to be against it as well as the federal government.
I have one question before I let you go. Now, you said we're looking for 4 patrolmen, okay? And you said we have 2 in the academy now. Is there expectations that we're gonna get these 4 filled this year, or?
We would certainly try. The thing is, you gotta remember too, is when they go to the academy, it's over a 20-week academy. So 6 months in the academy, 7 weeks of training. After that, field officer training. So you're talking 8 months from the person goes into the academy by the time they're road ready. So these 4 aren't even gonna help us till the next winter.
That's what I was getting to. Okay.
Yeah.
And one point, and if you don't mind if
Go
I go
ahead.
back to Dom there, it's the one thing that we all have to remember at the end of the day, the ticket revenue goes into the general fund, which is one big pot of money, does not go back to the police department. And the town government sees roughly 1/3 of all the revenue we generate.
Still revenue.
Can I make one comment too, as far as the police department? I want to put this on the record, it's the police department. Traffic tickets are given out, warnings and traffic citations are given to the public for safety reasons, for traffic safety, to keep the roads safe, to keep everybody safe. There is no thought of making revenue as far as the police department's concerned. It's not a moneymaker, it's a safety issue. So I just want to get that.
And you know what, excuse me, I understand all that, but doing wrong is not safe.
But I have been asked to be deputized and have my own radar gun. They won't do it for some reason, so.
All right, one final thought.
I have one question.
Oh, all right, go ahead, Tom.
I just want to make the point is the better you guys do your job, or people do your job, the better this town is going to be.
Right.
And we have got to get rid of the reputation that we have. And
Right.
whether it takes money or how approach to the job, it's a very, very important dividend. And so I would encourage you to come forth with any ideas, any approaches
Right.
that are going to drive that number down. And it's going to help the kids that are growing up now, living in a better environment, and get them on the right track.
And that's why we have to be careful of that reactive, proactive line. We can't get too far away from the proactive line.
Right, amen.
And I just want to say, on the overtime issue, overtime, as you can see from the numbers of past years and the reduction of overtime, that is a big priority with me. To no unnecessary overtime. And we've reduced it drastically through the few years to a number I think that we can work with, but we could always use more, believe me, to get towards that proactive line. So, we have officers out sick, injured. It's a lot of vacation time, a lot of time off, a lot of overtime, a lot of court time. So there's a lot of overtime just in the day-to-day business of the whole operation, never mind trying to give extra. So it is a top priority of mine, and I think that can show through the numbers that it has been a top priority.
Hey, Jeff, you had one last question?
I would just want to encourage you to, look at the resources and so forth, and, maybe test the span of command, because if you have feet on the street, it sounds like that's valuable, and if you can basically figure out how to have one manager manage more people who do the same things, that's often a trick that's used, not a trick, but it's a technique that's used to get a job done. And, and again, in following your last comment, lean, keen, and mean is a key to success. And, if you've heard from us the job that we really feel needs to be done, they may have to be lean out some other areas and put it in the areas that would do it, because it means an awful lot to the town and its citizens. And you guys are doing a job that most of us couldn't dream of doing. So
I appreciate your comments.
All right, I thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. Can we take the donuts or no? We have to.
bring it back to the boys, the girls, whatever. But not to the dog animals.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you for what you've done through the storms with what you've had. You've done for the record, this is my opinion, you've done a hell of a job.
All right, I seem to be empty under MM.
Well, that's an issue.
That's an issue.
I've got mine's in there.
I got Harbor Master, and wait a minute, maybe there's two pieces out.
Please don't
There's two pieces of yellow paper. Got it. Okay, I got extra board.
I
Want it
can't
back?
find it either.
Yeah.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. Municipal maintenance, okay.
So this is Mr. Menard from the Municipal Maintenance Department, and I think you can, I'm happy to have him here today because, as you can imagine, over the last 3-4 weeks, I don't think he's had a day off. I was, and the fun thing is, since I convinced him to take the position, I looked at signing his 90-hour timesheet and realized, boy, there's not a lick of OT that he gets for that as a salaried position. So I thought he might be a little upset with me lately. So, but we know there's been a lot going on, so I appreciate all the work he's been doing besides, having to concentrate on the safety of this town to be able to keep up with this work. And as such, I don't know if you want to just go ahead and start asking questions. We know And you can hear from him directly that, like many of the departments, we suffer from manpower here, and we suffer from some of the equipment. Our newest snow and ice vehicle is 10 years old. And you might, I don't know if people know this, but salt does a little bit of damage to vehicles, so. But I'll let you introduce yourself, Dave, thanks.
Hi, Dave Bernard, Municipal Maintenance, and I think you have that all in front of you, that what we put together. I'm just looking for just like one additional labor and one additional equipment operator. I tried to keep it at a minimum because I know the way the budget is and the money restraints we have. So I'm looking just to try to grow slowly, if that's possible or not. And that's pretty much it on, we got it as far as,
How many people in your department is there?
right now I have a total staff of, eight workers. That's in the, laborers union. And 2 custodians and 2 foremans.
And then we have some office support staff.
It's 17.
17?
It's right on this.
It's right on the sheet.
Right in the front, right?
Oh, 17.
To list them all
Okay.
individually, right?
And I'm a little confused here. I'm looking at one additional laborer. Maybe I'm just not going across correctly. That I see, and is it one custodian you're looking to add?
The reason they're at .45 is because you only figure you're gonna have them for half a year.
Half-time, half period.
2 part-timers.
When we looked at it, we requested a full laborer. I've put in for the part and the custodian. I think he does need for the full on the 2 of them. So, but he's only, if you look at .45, those are unsalaried positions, unbenefited positions I've put in there for him.
That's really filling in, the part-times for filling in for people like that go on vacation and stuff like that. So I use a part-time person to, just to cover that
Are they
stuff.
on the market? Are those type of people on the market? Are they out there?
Yes, we have a couple, they're older and that's all they want really, is
Careful
part-time
about
work.
age in here.
I'm one of them, I'm over 50, so.
We got you beat.
All right, so I'm still a little confused because you said a laborer and an equipment operator, but I see an addition of a laborer and a custodian. So are we replacing somebody who's leaving?
Nope, this is just what
No.
I've put together, on this budget.
Okay,
So Mr. Menard has a different request.
okay,
And you wanna know it? That's why he's here, to speak to it today.
okay, go ahead.
Okay.
That was my confusion then.
Well, just with the extra labor, why I'm looking for that extra labor is we had one with a wrist injury, and the other one was out sick for 4 or 5 days, and that's the only 2 laborers I have, like for shoveling the walkways. I mean, we did use one custodian was out here on this last blizzard to take care of this whole facility, which is really kind of a safety issue. We have to keep sending a truck by once in a while just to keep an eye on the guy. He was out here by himself. So that's a, big major concern I got, that I'd like to try to beef that up, that part up.
I think this board, some of the finance committee members will remember that at one point we had it was separate departments. It was town buildings and it was municipal maintenance. They were combined. We have not funded the 4-person positions as they've left. We have only 2 of them left out of what used to be, was it 4 altogether?
We had 5.
5, so we've reduced that by 3 positions. One 4-person is for the town buildings, and the other basically is really a highway position, but covers some of the rest.
Yeah, parks and cemeteries also, in a tree department. So we've lost, and the garage too, running the shop too. So that's something that, like even during these storms and stuff like that, it's just one, I'm out there too, also on the roads checking for vehicles, and now that we're down to that one supervisor. We kind of split the town in half, where we had multiple supervisors checking on vehicles before in the past.
Have you got GPS in these vehicles?
I tried the GPS things, but they had Verizon had a problem with with the phones is this past blizzard, we were trying to install them. They were just a phone unit, a temporary thing for now. And hopefully by next season, we can get all the bugs worked out and have them with total GPS, so we don't have to. You still gotta go out there no matter what. They could be driving around with their plow up, so you still gotta check the areas and monitor them. You have to do it, so.
So what you do is you give each contract driver a GPS phone?
Yes, we haven't did that yet because we had the issue with the phones this past storm, so it hasn't gone through yet. But it's gonna.
Yeah, this is a new system for us, and we'd had a quote, I believe, the year before between 12 and 16?
Yes, 16, yeah.
16,000, and we weren't allowed by basically the accounting statutes to purchase those for all our trucks and such through the snow and ice budget. So it comes down to, a lot of people say, well, why don't you buy this? It comes down to, okay, well, if we buy that, just know you're not going to get the rest of the normal services that you understand that you're going to get, because we have to pull that money away. This is kind of one of the things that people don't understand. We've hit the point where it's, if you're moving money, you're taking away from a service that you already provide. That's going away to do something else. So that's one of the main issues. You know, if you saw around some of the roads over the last spring and summer, they were actually cutting back, and it was the first time I've seen that since I've been here. But that took away people from doing other duties as well, and I appreciated that, because we often forget that municipal maintenance at its heart is about public safety as well too. It's about the streets. It's about cutting back the brush from the side of the road so you can see around corners and such. And we don't have enough to do that. When you're down to staffing levels like this, you lose somebody to injury, you have somebody on vacation, you have anything like that, and you're talking large percentages of your entire manpower are disappearing. And you need to have certain ones that have the CDLs or the proper. Why can't we have somebody out there sanding it's all running the street sweeper? Well, I can't jump into a street sweeper and use it. Can any of you? No. Do you have the proper ones? No, you need to have the proper licensed people to do that. And that's what people forget. It's not just about grabbing any old person. They need to be properly licensed, and you want to get the best job done. And the amount of roads we have in this town, we could probably dedicate a person. And this is if the machine doesn't go down. They have a tendency to break when you use them a whole lot, but you could have a machine running these roads all from spring through the summer every single day, and then maybe you'd get to sweeping all of them. So, sorry to take over.
I have a question here as far as looking at the numbers. You just talked about braking, and I see fuel charges doubled, more than doubled, and repairs and maintenance more than doubled. Are we looking at any capital to alleviate the repairs and maintenance? Is this because we're just running old equipment?
No, the repair and maintenance, large increase on that is due to, we've never had the funding for it. There was, the 20,000 that was previous year, I didn't even service the stuff because there wasn't enough money available. And this year, it gets to the point that, the oil filters and stuff are gonna rust right off the trucks. You gotta maintain the stuff too. And, I budget in for like 65 vehicles, and I gotta take care of all them vehicles with
So
that
these
small
you're
amount of
just
money. This is
these are real numbers.
real numbers that this is what you need to have in there just to get the job done.
David, go ahead.
And it's-
Last year, we talked about rebuilding the fuel depot at the maintenance facility.
Yep.
What is the status of that and fuel pumps?
Still there, rusting through. We just, screw the panels on and keep it going. We're still full operational, but that's something that could go down and we could be in trouble over it if we don't do something in the future. But that's a capital item also, and it's not easy to get, so.
One of the interesting storms from the last blizzard is, we've talked about, some people had talked about, and we've all sort of bantered around, is the idea of having just cards to go down to the local gas station. Well, guess what happened in the blizzard? Those weren't open. Yeah, and that's when you need it most, is during those times. So but if you look at the fuel depot, it's not just municipal maintenance that uses it. It's also the water pollution control facility, and it's also the school buses. So, I mean.
Harbor Master.
EMS.
Harbor Master, EMS.
The police, even the police got diesel and
So,
stuff.
I mean-
Police using it now?
The diesel, they got diesel Hummers and stuff, they use that, and actually, their pumps froze up during a storm, and they ended up fueling some vehicles down to our place too, yeah.
So if we look at it, it is a hub of activity.
I don't see it on the capital list, that's all. I'm glad David asked the question.
It was a year ago.
Yeah.
It's not in
No,
there,
it's,
not in the current one.
I don't think it would have been removed. Did we
Yeah.
talk about removing it there?
No, should be on there.
I think we have that in the salt shed still, and that's
Oh,
one of the things.
That's 100,000 or 90,000 bucks.
Yeah, it
or
was like
something.
90,000, the
Yeah.
price, it didn't really change since because I got a new quote on that also, so.
The school department is considering moving into their maintenance facility within your facility, people and using their building for something else. Is that still alive?
As far as I know, it is, right, Derek? I think we're
Yep,
still.
there's
we're still
discussions
trying to-
about that.
Is it within this year's budget, or we just sort of, if it happens, it happens?
It would be working towards happening in some other manner. So if it did happen, we just have to transfer from the school for any salaries.
It's a net reduction, though, as I
No,
understand.
it wouldn't be a net reduction really in anything. It would just allow us to actually have a team to service equipment. So it'd be greater efficiency. So you'd have, in the snowstorm, let's say, then we would have 4.5 mechanics working on our equipment rather than 2. When it's time for the school buses to go through inspections, we'd have 4.5 people working on them instead of 2.
Good.
Yeah, and that's where I think people forget, they're always looking, we cut, let's face it, you've all seen it, we cut the budgets, and people always say, oh, well, if you do this, you're gonna cut money out. No, but we'll get better efficiency for our dollars, and that's a true value as well. It won't lower anybody's tax bill, but maybe it will if you really quantified it on it, but I can't give you the estimate of it. You know that that's a better way to work, to actually have staff working on it, so.
Go ahead, Donna.
How come the contracted professional services has jumped from 9,000 to 21,000? What does that entail, basically?
I believe on the contracted services, hold on a second.
Did you move the alarms into there too?
I did some of them,
I think
the
so.
outside,
Yeah.
The alarm's 12,000.
The alarms, okay.
lounge, yep.
Now, if the fuel has gone up this high, are you charging back the people that are now using your fuel? I mean, if it's jumped from $20,000 to $52,000, and all these other people are using it, are they paying for it, or are you paying for it?
That's fuel oil. The next page
Fuel
should
oil.
be, do you have it?
I don't have it. Put it right in. Fuel, 20 to 52.
I thought that was actually truly accounting for what you use.
Yes. I believe, did we move some of that, because we were gonna get, this out of snow and ice fuel or something, that we had to budget some more in there?
Yeah, some items, even though it's during the snow and ice time, aren't being allowed to be counted against snow and ice,
Oh, really?
which is, yeah. Which is just a side note, I'm
Yeah, that's
sure.
actually- I don't, we only had 20,000 in the past, but we actually spent 47,610 last fiscal on fuel, so that 52 represent a real, what we spent number.
Really?
And we had to shift around to pit that, it was 20,000, just wasn't enough in the budget to do it.
But are
last
the
year.
other departments paying you back for that fuel? Or you
Yes,
have-
EMS, all them, anybody that's.
So that's not a true, so this is the total number that's being spent, but it's not truly your number, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's his number.
That's my number, yes.
52,000.
We end up, we have to take a lot on the chin because we keep the tanks full, so like we buy the fuel, even though they're using it, but there's always fuel in these tanks, so you're always kind of like behind the 8 ball a little bit with
Wouldn't that just average out?
Yeah, it does, but that's why I said, we actually spent 47,610 on
understand.
fuel last year.
I don't understand that, yeah.
Yeah, but the fuel cost is coming down about 40%, so.
Yeah, so hopefully that number will come down too. That's what I didn't foresee spending any more than it was funded for, which is the same as what we got
I thought
funded.
Donna's comment was, if we see it here, then we would expect not to see it in someone else's budget because this account is paying for it all for the town. That doesn't sound like it's the case.
No, that ain't the case. This is what we burn, the fuel and all the machinery. Yeah.
So I think what Dave's saying is they pay for it up front and then their budgets hit back from some of the other ones. But this is what they actually spend,
This
the
is what they
department.
use.
Yes.
What the department
Not
uses.
that. So that you may buy 100,000, 50,000 of it gets used by other people.
Yes,
Right.
Okay. I asked it,
yeah, like the school.
can I go back to your, actually Derek, it was your equipment and stuff. You know, at some point, like, a street sweeper, towns start to buy a service because that's the kind of vehicle that does require a specialized operation. It's a specialized vehicle. It's not like a plow truck or something else like that that's more general. Have we looked at outsourcing some of that to, because you don't use it all the time, you use it in the spring and that's it, probably, or when you have an accident or something.
We've used hide sweepers in the past. It's very expensive. It's been a long time since we've used them. I know we used to budget in $25,000 for sweepers. They come in and that accounts for 3 weeks worth of work. And they come in, they kind of get the main drags out for you. But again, it's not in the budget to have that much money for.
It's worth always looking at because if you can save, it's not only the capital cost of depreciation of the equipment, but it's also the skilled operator who's only used for, and we only use it for 3 weeks or whatever. And, you know, plus the fact that, you know, it gets shared by others. So you still got to keep looking at those kind of things because they're specialized services that we may not need a person by the time you get finished looking at that. Total number of specialized services. You still got to look at the loaded cost of a person full-time versus using outside source part-time as a constant equation. So that's the way a lot of organizations save money.
But I look at that with equipment operator that you're using them in the spring for a sweeping, but during this blizzard snowstorm, you need that operator out there and that loader and that grader and all that other stuff too.
I'm not telling you, I don't know, I'm just encouraging you to look at that as an opportunity. Never stop because you'd be surprised what's out there. You may get into business and figure out you can make a lot of money.
Outsourcing is cheaper than paying benefits and stuff.
What?
Outsourcing is cheaper than paying benefits.
It is,
It's a
yeah.
proven fact.
Sometimes.
So even if you're talking an equipment operator, we're talking a half-time equipment operator?
For the increases and such.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at swapping it out. I mean, doesn't seem like an equipment operator gets a whole heck of a lot more than a custodian does, but, are we talking a full-time position or are we talking a half-time position?
Full-time
You
position
need a
operator.
full-time, so you need 47, or whatever it is, 37 to 47,000?
You have the equipment operator, yeah, about the 40, and depending which step they're gonna come in on, you could be anywhere between 37 and 47. And obviously, if we've attracted somebody that's excellent and that has all their licenses and such, you're probably going to bring them in at a higher cost.
And does this limit you? I mean, I don't know how the unions work or whatever. But I mean, equipment operators, are they just strictly doing equipment or are they manpower in other?
They're manpower.
They are
You,
manpower.
Equipment operator runs a shovel, broom, whatever.
That's what I'm
You
asking.
work.
How much
We-
use are
we
you
don't have
getting
the-
out of this person?
Yeah, it's gonna be used for anything we need, mow grass, like I said, we don't have the manpower to mow the grass in town, so I jump on lawnmowers and stuff, and whatever we gotta do, to get the job done, we do.
Okay. Good. Any other questions? Additional information to share with us?
I think you saw in the street lights as well, we've got an increase in
Oh,
that
that's right.
account, because there's a few of them. That is the actual cost right now. We did put money aside to replace streetlights with LED upgrades. We have been working with a company trying to see if we can get the incentives like we did for the LED lighting here. So essentially, we could turn $50,000 into a $150,000 value. And I think this is something we're going to have to continue doing throughout the rest of the next couple of years. Is instead of just putting the old lights back in, which still costs several $100s, if I can put a more efficient LED light in there, it just makes all the sense in the world.
Madam Chairman? Just-
Go ahead, Jeff.
This is the second time you see big increases of electricity. Where does the solar contract that were entered into that you were worried about using it all play into this?
The first electricity increase that you saw too was that a lot of buildings had been dumped onto municipal maintenance. When the town voted to turn the school buildings back to us and not to reduce or give us more money, they failed to realize that there's still costs associated with some of those, even though some of the buildings are shut down. But Hammond is one that costs us money, that does have the electricity working in there. I'm trying to get those converted over to LED as well to make sure that the lease falls more in line. Also, the heating of that building. Some of these other buildings, you shut down the heat, but they still have costs associated with them, such as alarms and other items. Regular electricity, the solar companies, roughly, if you think about it this way, maybe you save about 2 cents per kilowatt hour on there, which isn't bad, but it's not going to, it didn't offset the 29% increase that we just got hit from the electric companies too.
Yeah.
Did we buy, in our solar contract, did we buy more than we needed? And
Right.
I'm only asking a question because I
No,
was.
I thought,
Right now, we're not banking more than we needed, especially with the increase in the cost because it's credits.
I thought you were worried about the fact that as you converted more to.
Oh yeah, we're absolutely worried about
That you
that.
weren't gonna meet the contract. And it just seems that from that, you would have the expectation that we wouldn't see increases like this because we're buying it. But you're saying this is the 2%.
No, we're not buying solar. We're actually,
Buying credit.
we're getting a certain amount. We are the host community, so we get it back. So we get, let's say we get $1 back from them, of which you have to put back about 88 cents. Give it back to the solar
Whoever will pay
company.
for the solar system.
Right, then now if you're saving 12 cents and the cost of your electricity is the 10 cents or whatever, that 2 cents is your savings. So you're not really buying the whole thing. It's not offsetting, it's not going away, it's just giving you a percentage savings.
And it's
So,
not much.
what's that?
And it's not really that much, huh?
It's not as well as we would have done if we had just gone with all LED upgrades. We would have saved much more money.
If we bought our own, you say?
Not even going to solar, just upgrading all of our lights to LED would have been a much greater savings than the solar. However, that's what was voted upon, that's what we did, that's what we recommended, that's what the governor wanted, that's what everybody said is the best thing you can do. And that's probably the only time when you're an early adopter, sometimes you get hit because
You got it, right?
yeah, so. But as far as, we are not over our usage, right? We are over our usage, we don't have too much credits coming back towards us. So in other words, it's a weird way to put it.
Yeah, it's confusing, but
Yeah,
I think I understand what you're saying.
we're lucky enough that we're spending enough to cover it.
That's confusing.
Did you have another question, Donna?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
And we also have the snow and ice here, you're going to 133.5.
No, the whole thing should be about 360, a little over 360.
So what you're budgeting for?
Yeah, for the whole snow and ice.
Oh, what have I got here?
333.5.
That's what I got.
330.35.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said 130.35.
No.
Those are the old days.
No. And if you realize, that's still just a small increase. I mean, we've hit 500,000. I know this is historical, but this is still lower than a 3-year average. You'd probably be closer to 400,000. I'll just say I appreciate the finance committee backing us up last year when we wanted to put the little over extra $100,000 into the snow and ice budget, because we'd be in even more of a hole right now.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your help on that.
How much do you think it's, where are we right now with the snow and ice?
We're about 497, so 497,000 year to date.
And it's still coming.
And it's still coming, and one of our greatest concerns is what they're out there doing now is pushing back a lot of the streets, not just to give people better access, but we need to hit those storm drains before it rains.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you, I don't think have they had a day off?
No, nobody
Yeah.
is. So.
Yeah, almost
Is
a
there any
month now.
talk with the, I'm just throwing this up because I saw the fire departments out there trying to find all their hydrants.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're out there with the snow blowers getting the hydrants out, can they get the drains in between?
We'd love to help.
Please, please guys, if you're watching, can you hit those drains too?
And don't snow blow into the road.
You don't want to look like Boston?
So, you know, it's, to put into perspective, I'll go back just to the Super Bowl. You know, right after, I'm sure a lot of people watched the Super Bowl, and afterwards, everything finished up, and you probably maybe even you had a few pops or something watching the game, but our guys couldn't do it, and they were back out there at 2:45 in the morning right after the Super Bowl. So it's just, you know, when people, you just need to think about it, what they're going through, and our guys are pretty well and exhausted right now. And normally I'd be telling Dave to move to half crews, so you could have, you could give some people some time to rest. You can't half crew a crew that's already been quartered, you know?
Right.
I guess you can, it's an eighth.
I thought they were out there selling playoff footballs.
In this weather, footballs do deflate slightly in this temperature.
They were cold.
All right, stay on topic here, gentlemen. All right, do we have any other
Is this in
questions?
this deflate thing?
I know there's no more questions, and I don't want to push beyond there, but I know it's not reflecting in the budget I've put forward, but we do need to reinvest in our community through the municipal maintenance department. And that's also part of making an attractive community as well. When you see the well-groomed streets, when you see things done. Often the complaints we get the most of are people that have either retired or moved to this community and have expectations from where they came from and said, well, our community always did this. Why can't you do it? And my question has always been to them, well, why did you move to the community? Well, the beaches and stuff, a lot of nice. And the second part is, boy, your taxes are really cheap and the houses are cheap down here. I said, well, yeah, if we're running like a business, I guess the old adage is you pay for what you get. And we need to try and figure out we need to prove ourselves that we are doing the best possible for the community. You know, and that's why, I mean, just simple things like if you see the jackets and the shirts that are on the people, besides having our staff looking in a professional uniform manner, it also reminds them that the community sees them every single time they're out there.
They're out there, yeah.
So,
That's a good idea.
yeah, so,
You look sharp.
and, you know, I appreciate everything that the department's doing. And Mr. Menard, you know, I don't know how many people wouldn't just throw their hands up in the air and say, I'm going somewhere else at some point, so. Thank you.
For sure. All right, nothing else from the committee? All right, we thank you very much for your information
Thank you.
and your time this morning.
Yeah, thanks.